The name of this podcast is the Elementary STEM Coach Podcast, but I know some of you teach grades beyond elementary, where you might even be teaching preschool all the way up through middle school. And today we are going to dive into that preschool age, which is an age that I have a special place in my heart for and absolutely love and have been teaching that age recently. So we're going to dive into that topic. If you're watching the video version, I do have my cutie little dog Frederick on my lap right now, and we'll see how he does. We'll see if he stays the whole time. Today's question comes by way of email from Laural S, and she says, I just discovered your STEM podcast and I found it so informative. I teach STEM to preschool age children and was wondering if you could offer me some differentiation tips for that age group. Additionally, if you can point me in the right direction for preschool appropriate STEM curriculum, thanks. Love this question. And her and I were chatting back and forth, but I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts and some of the things I shared and maybe some new ideas since our email exchange. Also, if you have any questions for me, you're welcome to email me, send me a DM on Instagram. Send me a voice message. I love to hear what you're experiencing, and we could talk about it on the show. I do a lot of different things in STEM every single day. My days are always different. And one realm that I have been developing is my mobile STEM classroom trailer. And I really kicked that off. I've had the trailer for a bit, but really kicked off my program this past fall in 2025. And during the day, I do work a lot with preschool groups and some homeschool groups. So those ages range from 2 years old and then all the way through elementary and a little bit of middle school. So we're going to really focus in on that preschool age. And it is a lot different planning STEM for the littles. And there is a lot of that preschool hands on type of learning going on anyway. And so I give it that STEM twist, and it's been really fun planning for these little ones. In fact, I have an at home daycare that I go to almost every other week. And the lady who runs this at home daycare is a former teacher. So it's really fun to chat with her and bounce ideas back and forth, really see how her little group of kiddos just experience everything. And they're just the cutest things ever. I taught preschool in college and I was really close to getting my degree in preschool education, but I did switch into elementary education. So this is something it's been really fun planning in this way and gathering supplies and researching ideas that would work for the STEM. So when I'm with the littles, I usually have them for about 40 minutes, and this could definitely work for 30 minutes, just you can break it up as you want to. And you don't have to do all of this in one setting. This is just what I get done in that amount of time since I don't see those same kids every single day. I see them every other week or once a month. So I want to make sure that I jam pack the activities and also keep their attention in that short amount of time. I will plan my lessons based around a theme, whether it's a seasonal theme or it's a science theme or a little bit of both. And that really helps guide my planning and find resources and help build those connections with the kids and with those activities. I will always start with a story or two, and I've been building up my library of board books, which has been really fun to find some really cute books. And I will start with a story or two about the topic. So for this episode, I'm going to use the topic of Arctic animals. So you could even use these ideas with your own preschool groups or even kindergarten. It really depends on your age of kids, but I do this for preschool toddler age. I will start with a story. So the one I just recently read is Never Touch a Polar Bear. It's only a couple pages. The end, there is a whale, and I asked the group, do you guys know what whale this is? And they're all looking at me smiling. And this one little guy who's 3 years old knew exactly what whale. He said, that's an orca. I'm like, oh my gosh, it actually is. He was 100% correct. It was so funny. It was so cute. And the mom's like, I don't know how he knows that. It was so funny. Um, so we read that story. And after I read this story, I like to have some sort of movement activity or a science experiment that we do together. So, to connect with this story and with Arctic animals, you can do the blubber experiment. So, if you get a container of vegetable shortening Crisco, you get a container of that, you have a bucket of ice cold water, and you have the blubber, the fake blubber, in a bag. Make sure you have a double bag so when the kids put their hand in the blubber, it won't get dirty and disgusting. So they have one hand in the blubber and they have the other hand in the ice water. And it helps them compare and understand what blubber is for these animals and helps them keep them it helps keep them warm in these cold environments. So something like that, super quick, connects to the story. For example, when we were talking about how leaves change in the fall, the weather was nice enough. We did a little walk around the street and found different colors of leaves that I had on a board. So there were specific colors I was looking for. So we would pick up those leaves and then we also noticed them on the trees and how they were changing or how some of the trees weren't changing. So if you can have those real life connections, especially when it comes to an experiment, it might be really quick and have that instant gratification, but it is still science. It is still that STEM element. And for the littles, just seeing that reaction right away is really powerful for them and they understand it right away. After that, I explained to them quickly all the stations, and it depends on the amount of kids that you have. You might want to have this more structured, or if you want to have them move freely, it really, again, depends on the amount of kids and what you're doing. But I still set up stations for my kids, and I really try to set it up where I have each letter of STEM. It may or may not perfectly align, but it does help me have a variety of experiences and help me plan so that I'm not overpowering one type of activity over the other. I also add in some sort of craft, and I will do this in a small group. So I will pull kids a few at a time and do this craft with them. It usually doesn't take very long. Maybe one or two kids are very into the medium that we are using. They really like the paintbrush, they really like the glue stick, but I have some sort of craft that will relate to the project that they can take home and helps continue those conversations as well. For this craft that related to Arctic animals, I had a picture of the outline of a cute chubby seal, and I put this picture inside of a large Ziploc bag and added a few drops of white paint and black paint and sealed up the bags, and kids were to use their fingers to mix the colors around. I should have put more dots of colors all around on this seal. I did two big blobs. It kind of didn't work out. However, it was a cool idea. I just didn't set it up correctly. I will definitely do this again, but it was a cool way to paint without getting messy. They could use their hands. I sent the pictures home in the bag so they could dry them at home. Or if you have room, you can dry them and send them home the next day. So that was a fun little craft we did for that. For each letter of STEM, for the S station, I will typically do a sensory bin and kind of make it sciencey. So you could have a lot of those science tools and discover different things. For this sensory table, I did a bin of flat, clear, and light blue marbles and white pom-poms. And I found a set of Arctic animals that I put in there. Added different scoops and spoons that they could play with. They could play with the animals. And this was a big hit. The kids kept coming back and forth to the station. It was a super engaging sensory bin. The one thing I didn't like about the animals that I found, and I will try to find the link to the set, it came with a penguin. All the other animals were Arctic animals, but it came with this cute penguin. Penguins don't live with polar bears. Okay? They don't. I took the penguin out. I didn't want them to learn the incorrect science. Super cute. It's a winter animal. They don't live in the same parts of the world. For technology, I have a light table, and for my mobile STEM classroom, I actually have a portable light table that charges up with a rechargeable battery pack thing. There's lots of different light tables out there. And at this station, I found sparkly Picasso tiles or magnet tiles that they could build different ice shape sculptures. So this is pretty cool. You could have more guidance if you had different pictures of things you want them to build. I had this more open ended, but these sparkly tiles were really cool because they were more see through and shined even better with the light table. The E for engineering station, I had big random sizes of white hard foam, and kids could build with those like they were ice. So they could build an igloo, they could build towers. I brought some little cars out to drive on it, but that one was super fun as well. And some of those Arctic animals also made their way over to the foam block station. For the M for math station, I had various puzzles. They weren't all Arctic themed. I did create some Arctic animals where they had to match the top and the bottom half. So finding that recognition, but some were just some puzzles that I had as well, and they were totally fine with that. I will also mix in some other things like free choice and other little activities that might not be related to the topic, but some other things that they enjoy playing with, such as Play Doh. There's some certain blocks that I have they really like. So, even having those open ended things can really work out as well. Or even if you had a free choice station where you have different bins of building materials that they can independently play with, that can definitely be a great option. Just definitely having enough options where they, like I said, move freely or you have them switch in shorter amount of times will definitely keep that engagement up. And don't be afraid to repeat things. I've done a lot of similar activities with similar materials, but it's a different topic. And the kids are totally fine with it. It actually makes them feel confident in what they are doing. They get another chance to try it, but it might look a little different, but the same materials. So that is something great to keep in mind, that a little bit of that repetition is definitely okay. In terms of specific curriculum, I don't know a great one off the top of my head when it comes to STEM. So if you know one, feel free to message me and let me know. But there is somebody that I love following on Instagram, and she has really great ideas for preschool in general. And I just love how she posts. I love her style. I love her philosophy behind teaching and how she does things with preschoolers. And she's preschooler in general, but you can learn a lot from her just in terms of best practices in preschool. And her name is preschool underscore vibes underscore. And she posts a lot. She's really, really great, really authentic. And I really value what she does in the preschool space. So she's definitely someone that I would recommend to check out as well. One quick note about the storage is the preschool stuff I found is a lot chunkier and bigger, and I was getting a little bit frustrated on how to keep everything organized. So what I did is I have big clear buckets, and I keep this stuff separate from my elementary because there's not a whole lot of overlap. And I labeled all these buckets for each month of the year. I do teach some in the summer, so I have every month of the year. And when I find materials that relate to that month or that theme, I just put it in that bucket, and it's also helped me stay organized. If I have any extra supplies or very specific things that go in that month, it can all fit in there nicely and keep me organized throughout that month and or in the future. So I hope this helps with your preschool ideas and gets the ball rolling. It's so much fun to plan for these little ones. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me by way of email, Instagram, or even sending me a voice message, and we can chat about it here on the show.